John Grauwiler. I live in New York City in the East Village. Um, yeah.
Now, how long have you been involved with GAG? I think probably from day one-ish,
Oh
right?
yeah. So a group of us are founding members. So I went to the first meeting that Kevin Herzog and Brian Wilson organized. That first night, which was held 5 days after the Pulse shooting. And so we're coming up on our 5 year mark. Um,
I can't
of,
believe it's been 5 years.
I know, I know, I
Ugh,
know.
yikes.
Yep. And it's still as it just continues to increase gun violence. I mean, with the most recent incidents, Atlanta and Boulder, and then recently the shooting, police shooting yesterday. So we're like, this is not going away anytime soon. Even though we now have a gun violence reform president in the White House who is putting forth executive orders. But the fact is that over the past year, during the pandemic, that more guns were purchased than ever before, more background checks were issued than ever before, and that there were more deaths, homicides, and suicides than ever before. So we're in trouble and we remain that way.
Right. I mean, I would hope that during the pandemic there would have been a little bit of a respite,
Yeah.
but it seems like that even wasn't the case either.
No, no. So a
Just
lot of
less
that
school
was,
shootings, right?
pardon me?
Just less school shootings because
Yeah,
people are in school.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So what do you do for work that besides be an activist for gun violence? Or what other
Oh,
organizations are you affiliated? I mean, just a little,
sure. Yeah, yeah. So I am also a public school teacher. So I
get
teach,
out of here.
I am, that's true.
What
Yep.
grade?
Yeah.
What
So
grade?
I teach ninth grade, and also year one, 11th grade. I work at an early college, high school, the Bard High School for Early College here in New York City.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So I teach English, literature, and so that's
oh.
how I it's my get rich quick scheme. It's gonna pay off any day now. And so yeah, I've been teaching for about, I guess like this is my 19th year of
Wow,
teaching.
you look so young.
Well, it's this the kids keep me young, and the lighting's pretty flattering tonight.
Just a question. Do you, get your kids involved in, with the gag and kind of
Yeah,
just
yeah,
get them enrolled
yes.
in the idea of it? Great.
Without a doubt. I mean, I'm always talking about gun violence with my students, appropriately, kind of like if it comes up. Lots of the schools I've worked at, I have been drawn to them because they believe in civic engagement, and so I've had opportunities to take students to do
The
to help students
dying?
organize around gun violence and go to Union Square and to hold protests, make signs. I've also had students from BSEC who have come to GAG meetings.
What's BSEC?
BSEC
The
is the Bard
Bard?
High School
Yeah,
for Early College.
yeah.
Yeah. At the other school I taught before BSEC, I taught at this other school, the Brooklyn School for Collaborative Studies, BCS, and they too, BCS is also committed civic engagement. So I was able to parlay or sort of bridge like my personal sort of activism with teaching,
Great.
and that's been a pretty incredible experience. And also, every year at BSEC we have a day of action, a BLM day of action, and so I typically give a talk on. I sort of mix it up like every year just to keep it interesting for myself and for students. But a talk on intersectionality of gun violence and race. And I'll maybe invite GAG members in to talk about that topic too, or another topic. So, Yeah, so it definitely is,
Wow, very cool.
yeah,
I kind of started the LA chapter for a minute there, but
I do know that. Thank
LA
you.
LA is a different animal. And I mean, so much kind of was working against. I mean, if we had an absolute sponsorship, I would imagine we would have kept it going, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I feel like when Trump got in, the attention was off that and much more about like hating Trump and being all about, supporting, because we started and they a bunch of groups started afterwards through like I had started actually one with Jews and Muslims together because we didn't want to do separate camps. It was a
yeah,
time to bring people together, which I'm always in my heart thinking that one day we all will get together on the same page and attack white supremacists. That's my bigger goal. Here in Los Angeles, what was working in the beginning, especially when there was good energy, is we created the coalition between like Women Against Gun Violence, the Brady people, like, so there was, because it was so fractured here in Los Angeles and it's so spread out.
yeah,
And we just
yes.
tried to communicate as a group. Does GAG work with other, partner organizations in your efforts?
Yeah, we're really committed to coalition building. So in fact, several of our members are part of like other groups like Moms Demand Action, New Yorkers Against Gun Violence, Brady, um, Everytown. So we definitely, have members who within the movement are interested in the work that we're doing, and then we have also partnered with other organizations, notably trans organizations, to honor lives, trans women of color,
Right.
lives lost to gun violence. We have, early in at the beginning of GAG, we partnered with NAN, Action Network, and the American Federation of Teachers, and went to DC. We have participated in the annual March Across the Brooklyn Bridge with Moms Demand Action. We are a huge supporter of Life Camp, sort of local groups, and SOS and Youth Over Guns. These are New York City based gun violence prevention groups or gun violence awareness groups.
How many
We're
members are in the New York Gays Against Guns?
well, since COVID, the
At
numbers
the
have
height, let's just go with the good news.
at the very height of our uh, sort of work, I would say that we had, like in the room, the larger at the community center holds like 250, 250, 300 people, and the room was packed. So for a long time, but we had hundreds of people showing up to meetings.
I think even the byproduct of Trump's presidency, I
Hmm,
find that there is this great, first of all, which is why we had 81 million people show up to vote.
yeah,
People,
yeah,
probably 80% of them didn't really love who the choice was. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And so that's such a testament to, like, the opportunity to bring people together. It's kind of like when the youth movement became so important during the Vietnam War. I mean, we've
right,
never seen anything like that again until now. And
yeah,
Black Lives
yeah,
Matter and the summer of 2020, which will just never go away in
yep,
any of our minds, especially now that we're reminded every day for the past few weeks.
yeah.
But so we know that, like, it's going to be hard. We're not taking guns away from these lunatics. We have to, like, say that so that they feel like they still have their whoopee, so we don't create, like, war in the streets. You know what I
Yep.
mean? But so what's the most you hope for as, like, a true kind of, activist for gun safety or, anti-gun violence? What are you hoping for comes out of the next 4 years?
Yes, under Biden administration. I think Biden is off to. I'll just preface this by saying I think that Biden's off to a decent start. with the most recent initiatives and going after ghost guns and 3D printer guns, and then also by appointing someone to head the ATF, National Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. That that position has been unoccupied, and so I think that these are good strategic moves that he's made. But I actually want to see more. I know that's impossible with like the currently Republican dominated Senate. Hopefully, the midterms things will change. But I want to see more aggressive legislation. I want him to return to the ban on assault weapons.
100%. Yeah.
I want the national HR 8, the background checks bill, comprehensive background checks bill. I want that to be made the law of the land. I want that to be federal legislation. And I want Joe Manchin to sort of like add the picture. Right now he wields a lot of power.
He's like the Mitch McConnell of the friggin' Democratic Party,
Yeah, yes. So there's those things. I also want to see, ideally, an end to an aggressive approach to ending gun trafficking. In cities like here, New York City, but also Chicago as well. If we can really, here's where the ATF comes in as well. Like, if we can really um,
Chicago's a nightmare.
do like tracing of guns, allow that to happen. The repeal of the Tyrant Amendments, which doesn't allow this information to happen. If we can really just sort of get a firm grip on that, whatever that means, passing the Anti-Gun Trafficking Prohibition Act that Carolyn Maloney and others, have signed on to, even
Right.
some Republicans. Like, so there's like a wish list that I hope happens over the next 4 years. Definitely a ban on assault weapons. Definitely the passing of HR 8, the background checks bill, um, working towards dismantling gun trafficking. I think, though, I mean, there are so many things. This thing is a hydra, right? But I think that for me, those three things would really sort of be effective in sort of hopefully, and I hope at least, um, reducing the
Right,
numbers.
right. So
Yeah.
it is so critical that we vote like we've never voted before. We have
Yes.
to live by John Lewis's words, like more than ever.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that's why the initiatives of getting people registered to vote, in spite of all these horrible Republicans that are putting all these obstacles in
Yep.
everyone's ways. I mean, the vote is everything. The vote is the equivalent of someone's gun. I think it is our artillery
Oh,
to
yes.
get
Exactly.
through
Armor.
this
Yeah.
country. And some people you have to like talk that way, because just saying, yeah, you should vote is not good enough for people.
Yeah.
You
I
know, I don't
think,
know.
though, this past election, general election, I think people recognize that now. I think they, even the midterms, I think revealed that for people, like how important it is to vote. Abrams is doing a lot of incredible work in making sure, even preparing for the midterms as we speak. So I hear you, I agree with you, but I also think there's like a shift in terms of what it means to be American. What does democracy? How does it function
Well, again,
effectively,
it's the byproduct of the
properly?
Trump
Right?
administration. It's the good news to the bad news.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so yeah, exactly, exactly. And the good news is that it was only 4 years, and that in the end, that there was a fight to take back the country, and that, it was won.
Yeah.
So
It
that's
was really
hopeful.
intense. That was like yeah. I mean, I'm still suffering a little from PTSD for those past 4 years and
Yeah,
this heightened, intense election cycle,
yeah,
because what rose out from the depth of my soul was hatred that I never really wanted to pay attention to, because I know we all have it in us, and it just was, I could not stop it. And that's why it's so much more important now that I channel this in a way that steers towards people voting for Mary.
Thank you so much. It's been a
My
pleasure
pleasure.
talking with you.
It was great. Yeah, great. Have a good, enjoy this summer.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. You too. Bye.